I mean, it's going to really save you a lot of time, and it's probably something that most people don't really think about. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo, the founder of Mojo Human Performance Institute, where we focus on helping people just to kick ass in life. But we do that through mindset, lifestyle, and business hacking for driven mofos. The reason why I do these episodes is that most people just waste their life, and I don't want you to be one of them. Anyway, let's talk about communication. So something that I've learned is that extremely driven people are also extremely busy people. And what I know is that a lot of the time when they're communicating with others, most people blow out time frames by over communicating, and it stresses out driven and busy people. So I see this happen quite a lot when people are emotional or they haven't dealt with any of their past issues or past mental and emotional issues. So the reason why some people over communicate quite heavily when you communicate with them is because a lot of people feel the need to be understood. And by having a need to be understood, they will over communicate, which then means they're less likely to be understood. And this happened only yesterday when I was talking to a potential client and I asked them a simple question. And then, 15 minutes, they go on this big, long talking, rant, and they're telling me about how they feel and why this is that. And then this happened, and then they link it to another story, and then it goes into another story, and then it goes back into another story. And at the end of it, they didn't even answer the question. And so I had to re-ask the question. They went, oh yeah, sorry. Now, that is normally due to some emotional response when they were younger, where they felt like they were misunderstood. So they've learned a strategy that when they feel like they're misunderstood, to over-communicate, or the more information that I can give to someone, the better it is. The reason why this doesn't work is if you go to let's just say if I ask you a question like, what color was that car? And a person says it was red. There's your answer, right? Simple, straightforward, I get it. Now, if you're a good communicator and you don't understand, you might say, okay, was it like a lighter red or a darker red? So a good communicator will ask questions back in order to clarify. So if you put two good communicators together, the person who's speaking will give the information that's needed in the most precise way. And if the other person is unclear, they will ask questions in order to clarify. So that's really good communication. Okay, it's a two-way street. When you have someone who's a poor communicator who's talking, they will over-communicate because they think that the more information that they give, the better it's going to be. So that communication with a poor communicator who has past issues around not feeling understood, or feeling like the more information that they give, the better something's going to be, or the more understood they're going to be, what will happen is it'll sound something like this. What color was the car? Well, I was standing on the street corner and I was looking down the road, and at first I thought, was the car sort of orangey? I couldn't really see, and it looked like there was a bit of a shadow there and the sun was reflecting on a different angle. And you can see how quickly that ends up in something that just stresses somebody else out, because all I asked was what color is the car, and now they're going into a full story around this whole situation and scenario, which isn't what I asked. And this happens a lot. And when I say a lot, it happens all the fucking time with people. And then they wonder why people misinterpret them, or they wonder why they're misunderstood, or they wonder why they don't get what they want, or they wonder why highly driven people don't want to hang out with them. Because I don't want to call someone, and this was a hesitation that I had only a couple of weeks ago, where I had to call somebody that I know is a massive over communicator. And I needed to know a really quick and simple answer. It should have been about a 3-minute conversation, but I was hesitant to call them because I knew that I would get into a half an hour conversation. I would have to keep interrupting them in order to get the information, and it would be an uncomfortable phone call. Instead of if I could just ring them and say, hey, I need this. When's it going to be done by? What does it look like? When can I let my team know, and done? And then that would be it. That would be like a 3 to 5 minute conversation versus getting on the phone and listening to all these scenarios and all these fucking cool stories that they're going to tell me, which then is going to waste 30 minutes of my time or 25 minutes because the communication should have happened in 5. So if this is you, my recommendation is really start to learn how to listen. Now, some people are great talkers, but they're poor listeners. And what I find is that when someone over communicates, they're normally pretty poor at listening. And so if someone asks you something like, can you send through your financial reports? The answer is yes or no. Or you ask a clarifying question, which might be, what financial reports did you specifically want? Was it the cash flow? Was it the profit and loss? And you might just ask if you need to clarify. But you could essentially just say, were there any specific financial reports that you needed? There you go. What most people will do though is that they will over explain it again. So they'll get into a situation where they go, Okay, so yeah, what I'll do is, this morning I've got so much stuff on, so I won't be able to send it through this morning. And so what I'll do is this afternoon I'll book out some time, and the person does not give a shit. They just ask for something. If that person just shut up for a second and got out of their own head and listened, they would have heard them say, "Can you send me the financial records?" The answer is yes or no. And then if that's the case, and let's just say, for instance, I'm busy, I might say, "Look, do you mind if I send them through in the next 24 hours only because I'm busy this morning?" And they will go, "Yeah, that's fine. Done. Conversation over." That's like a 2-minute conversation versus a 30-minute conversation. So my challenge for you this week, Driven Mofos, is if you're one of those over-communicators, I would highly, highly recommend that you know that you're an over-communicator. So therefore, start to learn how to listen and really listen, get out of your own head. And so when someone asks for something, just let them know what it is that they need to know. If you're unsure that they understood, my recommendation is to ask a clarifying question at the end. So this is what I do with my team. So they might say something along the lines of like, "Hey, can you send through the videos for the podcast?" And I'll go, "Yep, that's fine. I can do that." Then I'll say, "Cool. How many do you need?" And they might say, "I need 5 of them." And so at the end, I might say something like, "Okay, excellent. Now, just to clarify, you need those videos done by the end of today. Is that correct?" And they might say yes. And I say, "And so they're specifically going to be uploaded on YouTube. Is that correct?" And they go, "Yes." And I go, "Excellent, cool." So now I know exactly what they're doing. So as a leader and as a manager, I normally ask clarifying questions to clarify that I understand and also so that they understand my communication. Again, I might ask one of my team members, "Can you please send through the updated spreadsheet and report for marketing?" And they might go, "Yep, I'll send that through." And then I notice that we haven't discussed timeframes. So I'll say, "Can you send that through by Friday, 5 o'clock?" And they go, "Yes." Then we might get onto a couple of other topics, okay, in a meeting. And then at the end, what I'll do is I'll go back through and I'll say, "Okay, so just to clarify, can you let me know what I've asked?" They'll say, "You need the marketing spreadsheet." And I go, "Yep, that's exactly what I need. When do I need that by?" And they'll go, "Friday, 5 p.m. And I go, "Excellent." So now I know that they know exactly what I've spoken about. So you can ask questions in both ways. You can ask questions to clarify things for yourself, but you can ask questions to make sure that the person that you've communicated with understands exactly what you're talking about. And so you re-clarify with your team to make sure that they are on track. If you have kids, do exactly the same thing. You teach them something and then you clarify. If you don't, then their interpretation of what you say may be completely different. But most communication is over-communicated. I think that it's a skill that most people need to develop. So they have to learn how to listen, but also to use questions to clarify and re-clarify things. So I hope that helps, Driven Mofos. Give it a shot. Have a go at it this week. Let me know if you're up for the challenge. Jump across to any of my socials. It's Michael Mojo on any of the social media platforms and hit me up. Let me know if you're up for the challenge and let me know how it goes. Let me know how your question asking abilities go and also your ability to listen without butting in, without interrupting, and without letting people over communicate. Try and keep them on track just with questions or with framing, which is that if someone's an over communicator, you might say to them, "Look, I've only got 1 minute. I just need to know this one question. Can you give me the most simple answer?" And then get it off of them. So that's called a frame. We'll go into that in another episode. So I hope this helps, Driven Mofos. If you haven't already done so as well, please, this week, my second challenge is if you can, share this podcast with just one person. So let one person, another business owner, a friend, a family member know about this podcast because I want to try to increase these numbers and get this information out to more people. And I would really appreciate it. I want to grow our community of driven people that want to achieve more in life. So if you could do that, that would be absolutely amazing. I know I don't ask for anything else in these podcasts. I don't run ads. I don't do any of that stuff, although I could. I don't have sponsors. All I want is that this podcast gets out to more and more people. So the more that you can do that as well, the better it is for everybody. Anyway, have a great day, Driven Mofos. Keep kicking massive goals.